Chair calls the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District meeting to order. Can we please bow our head for a moment of silent prayer? Amen. Chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add for consideration of executive session 6.3, student discipline. Am I correct, Dr. Fuller? 6.3, student discipline. 6.4, board attorney. 6.3, student discipline. 6.4, board attorney. It has been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Can I get a motion to accept the amended agenda? To approve the amended agenda. It has been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, we have our superintendent's report for January 11, 2022. COVID-19 update. For the month of January, there were and are 81 students. There were 81 students and 86 staff members who reported positive cases of COVID-19 in the district. As of today, the total enrollment, there are 4,111 students enrolled in the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District. Teacher and student average daily attendance. The average daily attendance for teachers for the month of December was 90.3%. The average daily attendance for students for the month of December is 85%. Second 9 weeks data, the assessment data for second 9 weeks assessment, which were administered December 13th through the 17th of 2021, show that 78% of the students in the bottom percentile have met their growth targets in mathematics, and over 60% of students in the bottom quartile have met their growth targets in ELA. Approximately 22% of the students score proficient in math, while 20% score proficient in ELA. The data also revealed that over 60% of all students met their growth targets in ELA, and approximately 80% of all students have met their growth targets in math. Approximately 35% of all students score proficient in science and history. The district has implemented an intervention plan to provide assistance for struggling students and for those who need enrichment. The instructional staff is also being provided support through external providers and district personnel. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Chair will entertain a motion to receive the superintendent's report.
So moved.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Brown, I want to ask a question. For those classes that you've allowed the students to be virtual, how are we keeping the teachers warm at those 3 schools? I don't want to call them for a lack of, I might just can't remember 3 schools that with the boilers.
So it's my understanding at those 3 schools, none of the schools had air heat that was completely out with specific or certain rooms. Greenwood High School, they were installing on Monday, Greenwood High School, the day after we spoke, they were installing the heating units. And any teachers, because the students, we allowed them that option not to come. I know maintenance had gone out to check those buildings as well.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Dr.
comment on that? Again, I believe that this just speaks to a larger issue, and why the board needs to collectively move forward with a bond issue, because as the superintendent has mentioned, as well as Mr. Johnson, continually putting funds into these dilapidated buildings only does so much for so long. So again, as a board, we seriously need to look at a bond issue of providing the best space and atmosphere for our students.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe this board is on board for passing a school bond. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Dr. Brown?
Next, we have the school at risk report for East Elementary and the additional targeted support and interventions report for Leflore County Elementary. Ms. Cole.
East and Leflore County elementary schools are receiving instructional support from school-level administrators, district-level administrators, and external providers. Data from first 9 weeks to the second 9 weeks revealed the greatest increase in proficiency and growth of all students in the area of mathematics. The principals and the school improvement specialists are scheduled to attend MDE School Improvement Convening January 25th through 27th in Meridian, Mississippi, for updates relating to school improvement efforts.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
Ms. Coleman, what are they doing to address the proficiency in the science area?
Yes, ma'am. On last week, we started the external provider support in the area of science. So part of their responsibilities are teacher and capacity building, as well as working with students on specific skills.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we move to the regular agenda, election of board officers for 2022.
Board members, at this time, we can hold our election for board members for 2022. And at this time, we can discuss if we will have 3 officers, that being the president, that being the vice president, that being the secretary, or will we go back to the way it was in 2020 where we had a president and a secretary? Board members.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
I'm perfectly fine with the way the structure is of officers, of having a president, a vice president, and a secretary.
Any other comments, board members? So everybody's fine with 3 officers. All right, the floor is now open for president. It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Bailey voting nay. The floor is now open for vice president. I nominate Dr. Kalanya Moore. It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. The floor is now open for secretary. It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Madam President,
Yes.
may I decline?
Let the record show he's declining. I move that we combine the vice president and secretary back to where it used to be in 2020. It has been motioned and second. All in favor that Dr. Kalanya Moore would be serving as vice president and secretary. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have. Any opposed?
Opposed, and again, it's not against Dr. Moore. It's just about combining the position.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Broshawn Bailey voting nay. (2022) officers: Samantha Milton, President; Dr. Kalanya Moore, Vice President and Secretary. Dr. Brown.
Next, we have your 16 section land report by Mr. Mike Ainsworth.
Good to see everybody. So, at the last meeting, we had discussed, entering a private contract with Floyd County Hunting and Fishing Club. And that is property, that when I negotiated with them, basically, they had submitted a bid, and y'all declined the bid and asked me to negotiate a higher price. They only offered $1,500 for that piece of property. So at this point in time, just to kind of give you what basically your recourse of what you can do. Hunting season will end up ending for deer season at the end of this month. We could re-advertise that property for bid and hope that we can receive something more than $1,500. Or we could enter a short-term contract at $1,500 for like a 2-year term. And then hope that at the end of the 2 years, we bid it back out and we receive more income off of it.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead, Dr. Moore.
How much are we spending, Dr. Brown, on advertisement, or Mr. Ainsworth, whoever can speak to that? How much are we spending on re-advertisements? On advertisements or re-advertisements?
So the advertising cost, Ms. Clark, would you kind of get a rough estimate?
Anywhere from $32 to $59.
Okay.
Per what?
Per lease, depending on how many that you have. And depending on the page, that's what we charge.
Okay.
Is it a certain length of time?
You have to run it twice.
So board members, on this piece of property, we could either re-advertise or do a short-term contract.
So question,
Go ahead, Ms.
Mr.
Lord.
Ainsworth, what have we been receiving prior to this $1,500 offer?
That was substantially more. You were close around the $7,000 figure on that. And I think talking with the gentleman, with the Leflore County Hunting Club, someone had come in and actually raised that bid up several years ago. And then at that point in time, they stopped making payment on that particular lease, and we had to do a cancellation of that lease. So there was a lapse of time from when the last time you received payment from the time it's been back under contract. So, that happens sometimes. And just to kind of give you an idea, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen Knoxville County where there was a feud between a private landowner and a local person, where it jumped up to about $50,000 on a hunting tract of land, which is absolutely crazy. And then all of a sudden they kiss and made up. 4 years later down the road, the school only got like $8,000 a year. So it can do that sometimes, and that's just one example.
Thank you.
Question, Madam President?
Go ahead, Dr.
Mr.
Brown.
Ainsworth, this will be what, our 3rd time advertising?
Right.
Correct.
So instead of a 2-year lease, could we just do a 1-year lease?
Absolutely, we can do a 1-year lease.
Madam President, that would be my recommendation if it's the consensus of my colleagues.
Chair want to take a motion for a 1-year lease for the Leflore County Hunting and Fishing in the bid amount of $1,500.
Correct.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Mr. Ainsworth.
Item 2 is just kind of information. I have received multiple calls from Mr. Robert Ward. He's an attorney. He's with Greenwood Leflore. I've actually met with him, and I've met with the private leaseholder, Trey Moore. And the scenario that we have is correspondence with the Secretary of State's office, and so I've kind of gotten to a point at this stage where I would probably like to have the school board attorney write a letter on your behalf to Bill Cheney, Secretary of State's office, to have him document whether or not it's legal for the farmer, Trey Moore, to allow guests to hunt what is identified as the open field. Now, he does have that right. Trey has the right to be able to hunt the open field within the language of his contract. The question has come up, does Trey have the ability to have his guests hunt that open field? That's what needs to be stated in the letter to Bill Cheney. Any questions about that particular item?
No question.
That will take us down to my recommendation to approve a recreational lease contract to Harley Camp and Natalie Camp. This is out of Brayley Campsite. It's lot number 24. You'll see the fair market rent is $300 plus processing fee. And then we did have an additional one that came in over the holidays. Same scenario, it's a recreational contract to Jared Mills and Anna Mills, Brayley Campsite, lot 41, same amount of rent, $300 plus processing. Both those parties have signed their contracts and have paid their monies. Any questions about kind of how we arrive at what that fair market rent is? I'm going to go over that with you pretty quick. Basically, we take the valuation from the tax assessor's office and at a minimum take 5% rate of return. So those Brayley Campsite lots are basically being valued at $6,000. You take that 5% and that's how you come up with the rent.
Any questions, board members?
No questions.
And what about the last one?
Tell me what's on that last one, because I evidently printed one that didn't have that last
It's,
one.
Carl Clark, lot 43,
Okay.
575 plus
Yes,
150.
apologize for that. A recreational contract, Brayley Campsite, once again. Carl Leflore, lot 42, City Fair Market rent, and it's lot 43. So on that situation is, you have the rent obviously more because you have two lots involved with a higher valuation.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion to, lease contract to Harley Camp and Natalie Camp, lot 24, for the fair market rent of $300 plus $150.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Is this 1 year?
No, ma'am. So your recreational contracts
Okay,
are for
okay.
4-year contracts.
Gotcha.
And then they do have a secondary term, 25, so it is a long-term lease contract. And the purpose of doing that, just your recreation, your commercial, you want long-term leases because you basically want them to put improvements on that land so you can generate tax revenue to the school district.
And how many years you said again?
40 years.
40.
Primary term with a secondary term of 25. And those leases are rent adjusted at a minimum of every 10 years.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
It has been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Chair will entertain a motion, for recreational lease contract to Jared Mills and Anna Mills, lot 41, fair market rent $300 plus $150.
So moved.
It has been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Chair will entertain a motion for recreational lease contract to Carl F. Clark, lot 42 and lot 43, fair market rent $575 plus $150.
Second.
It has been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried.
Any other questions that weren't on the agenda?
Any questions, board members? No, sir. Thank you so much, Ms. Ainsworth. Dr. Brown.
4.3, approval of bus drivers due to COVID-19. Page 11. Due to the approval to allow district and school administrators to serve as bus drivers due to COVID-19 bus driver shortages. Due to the increasing number of COVID-19 cases, the district is experiencing a shortage in bus drivers. Several of our drivers are quarantining due to contracting COVID-19. The superintendent is asking for the school board's consideration to allow the district and school administrators to be on standby to be used as substitute bus drivers when needed. The lack of drivers due to COVID-19 causes delays in picking up and dropping off students. It also requires school staff to remain in buildings later than normal in order to ensure student supervision. The recommendation, the superintendent is asking for school board consideration to allow the district and school administrators to be on standby and to be used as substitute bus drivers when needed for the remainder of the 2021-2022 school year.
Any questions, observations, or comments, board members?
Question.
Go ahead, Ms. Floyd.
Dr. Brown, do you know how, how many school level and district level, administrators are licensed to drive the buses?
Now, this is off the top of my head. School level, I would say 3, and district level with Mr. Johnson, Ms. Coleman, and another person, I know 3 off the top of my head. It's not many.
Okay. So you're still not gonna have much relief?
Yes, ma'am, but it'll help.
Yeah.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead,
What
Dr.
modes
Moore.
of recruitment have we taken from last week to this week, Mr. Johnson? Have we been able to recruit any new people?
Right now, we would have to recruit those that are already licensed, and it's just a shortage right now of licensed bus drivers in this area. And so what we're looking at trying to do is to recruit those that may be interested into trying to get them into the classes to get trained and qualified for the upcoming school year.
Okay, so has it been, really, hard to recruit those that may already have a CDL, like maybe truck drivers or those CDL licensed, persons that work for other organizations in the city?
Yes, and it's because of some things that have occurred, with them having other jobs and having, so there has been an issue because we lost some drivers that we had previously because of that issue.
Okay, thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion to allow the district and school administrators to be on standby to be used as substitute bus drivers when needed for the remainder of the 21-22 school year.
So moved, Madam President.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 12, approval to partner with Delta State University for the Mississippi Delta Gear Up program. Dr. Pulley.
Gaining early awareness and readiness for undergraduate programs, Gear Up Partnership Grant is a federal grant which will serve students and educators across the Mississippi Delta. It is a 7-year grant beginning in 6th and 7th grades in year 1. The goal of Gear Up is to increase the number of students who enroll and succeed in post-secondary education. Target services will be developmentally appropriate, and the use of those funds will go towards the services that were previously mentioned to you all during the initial submission of that. The total allotment for the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District for each of the 7 years will be $117,000, and that will be on a reimbursable basis, but beginning in 6th and 7th grades to prepare students, of course, for high school graduation and beyond. So things such as tutoring, ACT support, assistance in math and ELA, and just a variety of services, even of course, when we exit this current stage that we're in with COVID, some college tours.
Any questions, board members? Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends school board approval to accept the contract and partner with Delta State University, Mississippi Delta Gear Up Program, and give the superintendent permission to sign all necessary documents.
Chair will entertain a motion to accept the contract and partner with Delta State University, Mississippi Delta Gear Up Program, and give the superintendent permission to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Page 25, approval of inventory removal of Chromebooks. Dr. Pulley.
The Chromebooks on the attached list were damaged and sent to the Claims Center for repair. The Claims Center determined the value to repair the devices would surpass the cost to purchase new devices. The company mailed checks for 69 devices between November 11 and December 6, totaling $17,463.04. The Chromebooks and payment were verified by the technology supervisor. A copy of the information is available for review if needed.
Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends the school board approve the removal of Chromebooks from the attached inventory list.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the removal of the Chromebooks from the attached inventory list.
So moved.
It has been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Page 30, approval to advertise and conduct reverse auction bids. Mr. Johnson.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District requests permission to select a company to advertise and conduct a reverse auction bidding process for the purchasing of band instruments that are expected to exceed $50,000. And you do have an attached sheet on page 31 through 38.
Any additional questions, board members? Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends the school board approve the request to select a company to advertise and conduct a reverse auction bidding process for band instruments that are expected to exceed over $50,000.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request to select a company to advertise and conduct a reverse auction bidding process for band instruments that are expected to exceed $50,000.
So moved.
It is motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Page 39, approval of use of facilities, gymnasiums, Central Mississippi Incorporated, community outreach, youth sports. Mr. Johnson.
Central Mississippi Incorporated through Community Outreach for Youth Sports is requesting the use of the following gymnasiums at no cost: Greenwood Middle, Leflore County High School, and Amanda Elsie Middle School for basketball practice, camps, and sanctioned games. They're also requesting Greenwood High for volleyball practices, camps, and games. And we do have Mr. Cox here to answer any questions that the board may have.
And, is this additional information that you're providing for us tonight? Mr. Cox, you may come forward. Board members, do you have any questions? Can you speak in the mic, Ms. Abraham?
How are you today?
Mr. Cox, what are the credentials of the people who will be coaching these children?
The credentials, they're going to background search. They'll have to follow a background check with Central Mississippi Incorporated. Some of the people who are accounted for are either former coaches and so forth, so they make sure that they're capable and abide by.
And is this a grant provided
No, ma'am.
to fund this?
This is a collaboration with Central Mississippi Incorporated with grassroots organization for communities of 7 different counties.
Okay. So are the people who are coaching being paid?
Ma'am?
Are they receiving pay to coach?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Cox, on this, page right here, what is this, like a schedule of,
Yes, ma'am. These are some of the games, tournaments that participants will be participating in for the basketball, because basketball is one that will start first in January. It's going to reach from January to the end of July.
board members, do you see the schedule of events?
He was given three handouts.
Right.
The first handout is a outline of the purpose of community outreach youth sports. The second is a list of the different tournaments that the participants will be a part of via basketball. And the third one is the collaboration with the people who will be assisting with providing vaccination as well as COVID testing.
So what are the, payment amounts? What are they for?
No, the payment amount is per tournament. This payment amount is there's a fee for each tournament that will be covered by CMI.
I'll make a statement, Madam President.
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
Mr. Cox, I just want to commend you and CMI for taking on these efforts and the initiative, considering the state of our local communities. It is without a doubt that our youth need some positive reinforcement and some activity to engage in. So thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
Mr. Cox, with the uprise, in COVID cases, what do you all propose to do, in terms of curtailing the spread or preventing the spread, or how do you all plan to attack that?
We can all agree that COVID is not going away anytime soon. However, one of our things is lack knowledge of how to conduct ourselves day to day through the maneuvering of COVID. So we will have people in like Mississippi Corporate Campaign as well as Labney to come in, speak with them, also provide testing, also provide vaccination. Just continue understanding how and what you can and can't do in the process of COVID. CMI has equipment to make sure that we have a clean and safe environment. We also have different cleaning supplies as well as masks and so forth. We just educating and informing our kids how to conduct ourselves.
And these will be students from the district, right?
Yes, it's part of the Leflore County. When we have games, there will be people from different counties as well as different parts of the state.
So what is the, Madam President, may I?
Yes, Dr.
What is the
Bailey.
process if a game has to be canceled, due to, an increase in, COVID numbers? How is that procedure handled?
It will be informed via newspaper, social media, and so forth. We'll be providing information to each one of the coaches to let them informed about the cancellation.
Okay, thank you.
So, Dr. Brown, how would it be handled if our facilities are closed due to COVID? Then what will happen with, Mr. Cox's program, Coach Cox?
If the board approves for Mr. Cox to use the facilities, then I would assume that it would be Mr. Cox's responsibility and CMI to ensure that students or anyone who comes to those facilities are safe. On the district's behalf, if we close the district, he is actually petitioning for an agreement so that they can use it. So it will be up to CMI at that point to make sure that those visitors are safe.
Any other questions, board members?
No question.
Will our students be allowed to play if we close our facility? I think that's, because if our schools are out, then they don't play regular sports, is that correct?
Right.
So will they be allowed to play sports with CMI?
I would say yes, because this is not, CMI and this outreach initiative is not a part of GLCSD. So it wouldn't affect our students if they're going to the community outreach, sports initiative to participate. It wouldn't have. I don't see the connection with GLCSD as far as students not being to play in his, initiative versus what we have.
Madam President?
Go
If I
ahead.
may.
Dr.
Now, I will share that, without a doubt, I do have concern if we shutter, or not, if we close a school, because of COVID, and then we allow the CMI or any other, outside agency to come in and, utilize a facility. I would certainly support this initiative, with the understanding that if Leflore County High School is closed, then that gymnasium or whatever area is needed would not be available for this until we reopen. Again, that's just how I feel.
Dr. Moore?
No, I agree with thinking it's along the same lines as Dr. Bailey, but I was just wondering, do we have a policy that speaks to this? We wouldn't be jeopardizing any of our policies, would we?
Attorney Fuller?
No, you would not be jeopardizing any of your policies. I do believe that it would be legally sound that if the campus is closed due to COVID, that no one would be allowed then to use that campus, especially the same students who MDE stated couldn't play on Friday night, but they wound up playing Saturday in another organization. I do think that you don't want to run the risk of anything like that. However, if there is some concern about that, I'd ask the board to allow me to seek guidance on that topic with MDE, because it would not be a school-sponsored activity if it is CMI. However, these same students can't play under the GLCSD name if the school is closed. So I think that it would be prudent to not allow anyone to play in that facility if the building is closed. I think that's the best advice. If you would like me to go further, I can seek guidance on that and have that answer to you very quickly.
Or would there be a process or procedure that maybe Mr. Cox and Mr. Johnson will work out?
And I would say if the board votes to not allow that to take place, then any time that the district is closed, I would make sure that Mr. Cox is aware that the facilities will be closed and maybe make other preparation for whatever game that may be on schedule or practices that he may have, if that's something that he's able to do.
I'm in agreement with that. I feel like if it is closed, we have contingency plans in place for something like that.
Board members, to make sure that we are in compliance with that, if that is what the board so chooses. I do think that it is also prudent to make sure that we're doing that across the board for any other outside entity that may or may not be using the facility if the building is closed. Because you do not, our policy states that we don't want to be discriminatory not only in our policies, but we don't want to be discriminatory in our practices as well.
And also, Dr. Brown, this speaks to, I don't see the language where, it's asking for us to allow them to use the buildings at no cost. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me.
Does it need it?
Attorney Fuller, does it have to state that?
I think it needs to state that, yes, and put it in the recommendation so they can spray it upon the minutes.
Dr. Brown? Thank you, Coach Cox.
Thank you.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the use of the requested facilities by Central Mississippi Incorporated's Community Outreach for Youth Sports at no cost for the indicated purposes listed in the information attached. In the event of a school closure and the facility to be used by CMI due to COVID-19, CMI will not be allowed to utilize said facility and will work with district administration to secure other avenues. Yes, ma'am.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the use of the requested facilities by CMI Community Outreach for Youth Sports at no cost for the indicated purposes listed in the information attached, and CMI will not be allowed to use the facilities if closed.
So moved.
Second.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 50, approval to submit the 2020 National School Lunch Program Equipment Assistance Grant for School Food Authorities, second round. Mr. Johnson.
On January 19, 2022, the Food Service Department is seeking to apply for the 2020 National School Lunch Program Equipment Assistance Grant for School Food Authority's second round through the Mississippi Department of Education on behalf of East Elementary and Greenwood High. If awarded, the grant will provide up to $20,781.25 per school toward the purchase of a walk-in cooler.
Dr.
We have
Brown.
attached applications behind it.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval for the Food Service Department to submit the 2020 National School Lunch Program Equipment Assistance Grant for School Food Authority, second round through the Mississippi Department of Education on behalf of East Elementary and Greenwood High School.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the Food Service Department to submit the 2020 National School Lunch Program Equipment Assistance Grant for School Food Authorities, second round through the Mississippi Department of Education on behalf of East Elementary and Greenwood High School.
So moved.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Excuse me for cutting you off, Mr. Johnson. I just didn't see the other part of what you said. Dr. Brown.
Page 99, approval of the Memorandum of Understanding, Delta Health Alliance Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program. Ms. Cole.
Delta Futures is a teen pregnancy prevention program open to all students, girls and boys, grades 6 through 12, as well as pregnant and parenting teens in 7 counties. Delta Futures provides students, including parent or pregnant and parenting teens, with the resources needed to complete a successful education. Their goal is to reduce teen pregnancy, teen births, and sexually transmitted diseases. The partnership will allow the district to notify parents of this service provided by Delta Health Alliance. Included in your packet are the permission forms that parents would complete if they so desire to participate in the program or have their students or children to participate in the program.
Go ahead, Ms. Wood.
Ms. Coleman, when will this, program begin?
The program is already in progress. It was board approved last year, but it ends the end of January. So this will just continue for another year. This is something that we've already approved previously, and it's a continuation of services.
Okay.
Any other questions, board members? Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Delta Health Alliance, providing parents the option to participate in a program centered around teen pregnancy prevention.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the MOU with Delta Health Alliance, providing parents the option to participate in a program centered around teen pregnancy prevention. Go ahead, Ms. Floyd.
Ms. Coleman, one other question, do we have any outcomes thus far?
We do not. Delta Health Alliance holds that data.
So will they share it with the district?
I'm sure if we ask them for that, that they could get that
Okay.
for us. And what I'll do is I'll reach out and see what they have from
Okay,
last
'cause
year.
I would like to know, the outcome.
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show, Magdalene Abraham voting nay. Dr. Brown.
Page 125, approval to accept a donation from Milwaukee Tools, Ms. Cole.
Milwaukee Tools, a partner to the district, an employer to students in the Career and Technical Center's work-based learning program, has donated tools for use by students in the carpentry program. Milwaukee Tools has also donated 2,000 masks. That number has increased from 1,000 to 2,000 masks to the district, and they have already been distributed to students, faculty, and staff.
We certainly would like to thank Milwaukee Tools. Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval to accept a donation of tools for the carpentry program at the Career and Technical Center and a donation of masks to be distributed to students, faculty, and staff.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve to accept a donation of tools for the carpentry program at the CTC and a donation of 2,000 masks to be distributed by students, to students, faculty, and staff.
So moved. Second.
It has been motioned and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 128, monthly financial reports, Mrs. Washington.
Good afternoon. I have before you the monthly financial report for the month ending November 2021. The following reports are attached. You have cash balance, fund balance, your budget status report, cash flow statement, bank reconciliation reports, and the claims docket for January. Expenditure dates are still within budgeted amounts. Cash balance on hand are sufficient to cover immediate and current projected expenditure. Does the board have any questions?
From our work session, was there anything else that the board requested of you?
No.
It wasn't
I gave
anything?
you copies.
Okay.
Unless
I
you're talking
just-
about the quarterly report, which I gave you a copy of
No,
that.
ma'am, I thought it was something additional, but if you say it, I trust. Any other
Nothing I
que-
have written.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the November financial reports and the payment of claims 950234 through 950545.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the November financial reports and the payment of claims 950234 through 950545.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried.
Page 291, the consent agenda includes the minutes of special call board meeting of Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, minutes of regular board meeting of Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, minutes of special call board meeting of Thursday, December 9th, 2021, minutes of special call board meeting of Thursday, December 16th, 2021, minutes of special call board meeting of Wednesday, January 5th of 2022, and minutes of work session of Wednesday, January 5th, 2022.
And, Attorney Fuller, you already looked at those minutes, correct? I think I saw the email from you today.
Yes, I did review the minutes for all of these meetings, and they do accurately reflect what occurred at those meetings and the board actions that took place.
Any other question, board members? Dr. Brown?
The superintendent requests approval of the consent agenda.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. It's been motioned and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show, Ms. Flowers, that I'm leaving.
Board members, next on our agenda, we have personnel recommendations.
Page 319. Attached is a list of district personnel which requires school board approval.
Any questions, board members? Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the 2021-2022 personnel list on the attached sheet.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of school board approval of the 2021-2022 personnel list on the attached sheets.
So moved.
It has been motioned in favor. Ayes have it, motion is carried. Ms. Melton?
Chair will entertain a motion to close this meeting for consideration of executive session. It's been motioned and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Board members, let's retreat to the other board room. Make sure you bring your folder. Not your whole pack.
board is now in executive session to discuss the superintendent evaluation, student discipline, and board attorney.